I want to do something a little different this video. My comic shop recently had a sale where you could get recent issues for a dramatically discounted rate, and so I grabbed some things that I was interested in but didn't really want to try at full price, and I'm going to talk about those. I want to get the stinkers out of the way first, so I'm going to start with Task Force Z. I grabbed, these are the issue number ones for multiple series. Task Force Z is basically the DC universe with the zombies, and it is ultimately not good. I liked Injustice and I liked Deceased, and that's sort of the DC universe that you're familiar with, but sort of a dark twist, and then what happens. So Injustice was the first real surprise, I think, for me in the modern era of, hey, this is it's a comic based on a video game, obviously based on comics again, but where expectations were low, and yet it was really good. It was well written, the art was sort of hit or miss, but it was surprisingly good. And then Deceased comes along, and it's great. I highly recommend Deceased. When Task Force Z and DC vs. Vampires were sort of announced at the same time, and they're both still coming out, I was surprised that they were doing similar things. Obviously it's vampires and zombies, but I was surprised that they were doing both of these things at roughly the same time. And I wasn't really interested in either one, but I was curious. Maybe I was going to find another gem like Injustice or Deceased, and ultimately that did not happen. Task Force Z, I'm just going to say, is poorly written. The art is fine. It's not great, but it's fine, and I'm very clearly not going to continue reading this. That was a decision that I made pretty quickly, and I did finish reading the issue, and nothing really improved for me. So this I do not recommend. This will wind up in a giveaway pile, so I don't care about any of this. DC vs. Vampires, I am someone that didn't think Tynion was that great of a writer. I've read some of his early DC stuff, and I didn't care about any of it. Since then, he's become sort of this big deal horror writer, and I don't really care that much about horror, and I didn't think he was that great of a writer, so I haven't tried any of it. But I tried this because, who knows, people and tastes can change. Maybe he's gotten better. Maybe I might like some of his new stuff. I grabbed this, and I still don't care. As far as the writing goes, it's fine. It's not great, and there are some things in here that irritate me. So one of those being, there are multiple instances where a character will say something just so that the audience can learn something, and it's like product placement to me. It's so obvious and so annoying that it takes me out of the story, and I hated those moments. So this is, as I said, it's fine. I think the best thing about it is actually the cover art, and I definitely won't be getting any more of these. Up next is Deathstroke, and I've talked about this a few times in the weekly videos about how there is an upcoming Shadow War storyline. It's going to be a crossover between one of the Batman books, Ramen, which I have been reading, and Deathstroke. I have been curious about Deathstroke because he teams up with Black Canary. The two of them are involved in an organization named Trust, and I'm either unfamiliar with Trust, or is that the one that Frankenstein was working for at the beginning of New 52? I don't remember. It's one of those organizations that sort of pops up, and I can never keep it in my head. Anyway, they are doing some shady things, and these are basically one-and-done stories of the team of Deathstroke and Black Canary going after a villain, capturing that villain for Trust, and then they move on to the next one next issue. It's refreshing. in the sense that it's not decompressed storytelling, that somebody is still doing one and dones. The art is by Porter and it's colored by Hi-Fi. I don't think Hi-Fi is maybe the best choice for Porter. I've liked Porter's work in the past, and this sort of gives it a John Boy Myers look, and that's not a knock on either of them. I just think that they are very different artists, and it's a little strange for me. But the writing is interesting. The story is interesting. I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm not sure I would pay full price for these issues. I'm glad that I got them on sale, that I was able to read these in the lead up to Shadow War. As I said, I don't know if I'm going to continue reading Deathstroke, but I am glad that I was able to get a bit more information leading into Shadow War that I will be reading at least through Robin. All of those will be written by Williamson, so I'll be talking about those at some point. I should actually add, so I was only showing off issue 1, but I actually did read 2, 3, and 4 as well. So they go off to space and run into Cyborg Superman, which was pretty interesting. Here, I think this is Cheetah and Queen of Fables, which also, I mean, that's a great page right there. Again, great cover. I like this artist. And issue 4 is sort of a head-to-head between Deathstroke and Black Canary. There's some Legion of Doom stuff going on, and it's good. They are unraveling the mystery of trust and figuring out their own relationship, Black Canary and her mother, what's going on there. All of it is interesting. I'm glad that, again, I was able to read these in the lead up to Shadow War. Next up is X-Men. This is issue 1. I think this is one of the variant covers. But I've been a very intermittent X-Men fan over the years. I think as far as the modern era goes, I started reading during Mike Carey's run, and then that flew into Utopia, which I found interesting. The sort of initial consolidation of both mutants and the historical heroes and villains acting together. Again, I thought that was interesting. And then Wolverine and the X-Men and Uncanny X-Force, all of that was good. Until Hickman and House of X, Powers of 10. I loved that. I'm generally a fan of Hickman's work, and I liked, so that the initial start, the Hoxpox, I liked it, and then all of the series started, and I liked those less than the initial miniseries House and Powers. So I was kind of disappointing. I think I was really disappointed in X of Swords, and I think I wound up dropping the main X-Men title, but picked back up for Inferno just to see how it ended, and I liked the ending to Hickman's run, so the Inferno miniseries, and I like Jerry Dugan's Image work, but I wasn't picking up the main series. Through the sale, however, I was able to grab some of the issues for cheap. I got 1, 3, and 4. Somehow they were sold out of issue 2, but that's fine. What I like about these two, just like Deathstroke, is these are essentially done in ones, so I don't know what happens in issue 2, but I didn't miss anything. I will try to get issue 2 just to figure out what I did miss, but I think X-Men is the first of these that I might wind up adding to my pull list. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to get issue 5. I'll try to find 2. But one of my favorite things in all of this, and you can pause the video here if you want to read this, but it's Mr. Sinister trash talking the High Evolutionary. It's great. So High Evolutionary does show up here. This is essentially X-Men living in New York. They built a treehouse, and it's just random adventures, and it's fun and good, and I like it. And I'm kind of surprised, but maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know. It's good. I like it. This has the highest potential of being added to my pull list. Lastly, of the stuff that I picked up in the sale is Batman The Adventure Continues. Season 2, I did get all of Season 1 initially, and I liked it. It's, like the name describes, it's essentially the animated series, but continuing adventures, and they are working in some of the modern characters' storylines into that animated universe, including here where we've got the core vowels. This is a Talon here. So I picked up 6 issues of this. I think it's a 7-issue miniseries. I have read 2 3/4 of them. So it almost seems like the court wraps up in issue 2. Issue 3 is a different story, and then issue 4, which I have not read yet, comes back to the Talons and the court. So unless I'm confused about who this is, but maybe I am. Maybe that's not a Talon. I don't know. Maybe that's not a Talon. Maybe I'm confused. But it's just good. Like I said, if you liked the animated series, and many people did, there's a good reason for that. It's a kind of a nostalgia hit. Kind of brings me back to my childhood, those 90s sitting afternoons in the basement watching Batman cartoons. It's good. I like it. I'm kind of glad I didn't pay full price for this, like I've said about some of the other series, but it's good. Looking at some of the other covers, I think maybe the storyline for the miniseries might actually have to do with the mayor. So the mayor of Gotham dies in the first issue, and maybe that is the overall storyline for this instead of being all about the court. But issue 3 doesn't seem to tie into the first 2. So these are court heavy, and this is sort of a side story about Batgirl, Jazzman, Huntress, and so I haven't gotten to these yet, but I like it. This series, like I said, I think it's a 7-issue series. I'm sure it will be collected shortly. If you're interested, you can always get that. So that's what I picked up in this sale. These are the things that I wound up trying. Of them, I definitely recommend X-Men, Deathstroke. This is just high-octane action. There's certainly, I think I described this as character maintenance in one of my weekly episodes, as sort of just making sure that Deathstroke remains in the public consciousness, making sure that he gets a miniseries every once in a while. It's not pushing any boundaries. It's interesting. It's fun. It's kind of comics at their core. But there were definitely some things that I was not interested in, like the recent DC horror stuff. Instead, if you want a sort of Elseworlds take, I recommend Dark Knights of Steel. That is a vastly better book than Task Force Z and DC vs. Vampires. So that was everything that I tried out, and thanks for watching this special episode.